No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai is a novel that unnerves, fascinates, and deeply resonates with readers across generations. It explores alienation, identity crises, and social estrangement in ways that are psychologically profound and unusual. Today we will count down the 20 weirdest, most thought-provoking facts about this literary classic, highlighting strange narrative choices, bizarre inspirations, and unsettling observations about human nature. Let's go. Fact 20. Invisible life. No Longer Human ends in an understated and haunting way. Yozo does not die dramatically, nor is there an emotional resolution. He quietly fades from the lives of others, described politely by a caretaker who notes his existence without judgment or deep emotion. This lack of closure emphasizes alienation rather than traditional tragedy, making readers confront the idea that one can exist yet leave almost no impact on the world around them. Dazai's decision to avoid a dramatic ending creates an unsettling reflection on emotional invisibility. Yozo's struggles are internal, social, and existential rather than external or heroic. The quietness of his disappearance forces readers to grapple with the psychological horror of being unnoticed or misunderstood. By leaving his fate unresolved, Dazai emphasizes that some suffering is subtle, almost imperceptible, and that emotional erasure can be as profound as physical demise. This unusual narrative choice cements the novel's reputation as a disturbing and unforgettable exploration of human isolation and social invisibility. Fact 19. Heightened awareness. Burden. Yozo's acute perception of human behavior sets him apart in ways both unusual and socially isolating. He notices forced smiles, empty conversation, and performative politeness that others ignore. While most people navigate social life with relative ease, Yozo's awareness magnifies the distance between himself and society, making simple interactions overwhelming and alienating. His observational skills, though a form of intelligence, paradoxically prevent him from blending in or forming genuine connections. This heightened sensitivity is both a gift and a curse, creating a strange psychological tension. Yozo cannot ignore the nuances of human behavior, yet he cannot respond in ways that conform to social expectations. Dazai's portrayal is unusual because it highlights emotional insight as a source of suffering, challenging the common narrative that perception is purely advantageous. Readers experience the discomfort of observing life while being unable to participate fully, making Yozo's alienation deeply relatable and psychologically unnerving. The strangeness lies in the tension between understanding the world and being unable to live comfortably within it, a theme rarely explored with such intensity in literature. Fact 18. Absence of traditional villain. Unlike most novels, No Longer Human lacks a conventional antagonist. Yozo's suffering does not stem from a single evil character or a deliberate source of harm. Instead, tension arises from social miscommunication, internal doubt, and existential disconnection. Friends, family, and society at large are not malicious, yet their normalcy contrasts with Yozo's dissonance, amplifying his alienation. This absence of a villain is strange because it forces readers to reconsider the nature of conflict. Not all suffering comes from external forces. Sometimes isolation and disconnection emerge from perception, self-awareness, and misalignment with societal norms. Dazai explores this quietly, presenting Yozo's alienation as universal rather than personal. The novel's psychological tension is built not on action or drama, but on subtle observation, creating a uniquely unsettling reading experience. The weird factor is that the central struggle is entirely internal and social, yet it resonates profoundly with readers, highlighting the invisible pressures and misunderstandings that define human existence. Fact 17. Grave becomes pilgrimage. Dazai's grave in Mitaka, Tokyo, has become a pilgrimage site for readers who leave letters, flowers, and copies of his works. Unlike traditional celebrity memorials, this space is not about fame, but reflection and emotional connection. Visitors feel compelled to honor the psychological depth and emotional honesty found in his writing, creating a strange intersection between literature and quasi-spiritual ritual. The weirdness of this phenomenon lies in the way fiction becomes a conduit for personal reflection. Dazai's life and works resonate so deeply that readers engage in a silent dialogue with him, leaving tangible expressions of empathy at his grave. The pilgrimage symbolizes the enduring power of literature to transcend time and space, forming emotional connections between author and audience. It demonstrates that No Longer Human is more than a story. It is a psychological and emotional experience that inspires rituals rooted in reflection, remembrance, and the peculiar human need to relate to the inner life of another. Fact 16. Studied in psychology. No Longer Human is unusual in that it is frequently analyzed in psychology courses. Scholars explore Yozo's emotional coping strategies, including mimicry, humor, and detachment, to understand human behavior under extreme social alienation. His struggles illustrate defense mechanisms, identity confusion, and the effects of acute self-awareness. This crossover between literature and psychology is strange and rare. Instead of focusing on plot or entertainment, students examine subtle social behaviors and emotional strategies. Yozo becomes a case study in human vulnerability, emotional regulation, and coping mechanisms. The weird factor is that a work of fiction is treated as a psychological lens, allowing readers and students to understand the emotional realities of social estrangement. Dazai's ability to portray alienation with precision makes the novel a unique resource for both literary and psychological exploration. Fact 15. Born without center. Yozo often feels as though he was born without a center, a deeply unsettling notion of lacking a stable identity. He attempts to belong by mimicking the speech, gestures, and attitudes of those around him. This constant imitation highlights his struggle to develop an independent sense of self, creating an emotional fragility that isolates him further. The weirdness lies in the paradox of identity through imitation. By copying others to appear normal, Yozo loses his own personal essence. Dazai presents identity as fragile, socially influenced, and impermanent. Readers confront the unsettling reality that some people navigate life not through genuine self-expression, but through constant adaptation, a concept rarely explored in literature. This strange existential perspective makes Yozo's emotional journey profoundly disturbing yet relatable, emphasizing how identity can be both performative and unstable. Fact 14. Graphic adaptations exist no longer. Human has inspired visual adaptations, including manga, by renowned artists such as Junji Ito. Unlike traditional horror or action narratives, these adaptations focus on emotional tension and social estrangement rather than physical violence. Facial expressions, body posture, and subtle gestures convey Yozo's detachment and internal conflict, emphasizing psychological horror over overt action. The weird aspect is that the novel's internal struggles are translated into a visual medium without losing emotional depth. Readers witness social disconnection and mimicry through imagery, which amplifies the sense of alienation. These adaptations demonstrate the universal appeal of Dazai's exploration of isolation, showing that emotional dissonance can be as compelling as plot-driven tension. Translating introspection into art creates a unique, almost eerie visual experience, highlighting the novel's lasting impact across cultures and mediums. Fact 13. Readers mirror themselves. One of the strangest aspects of No Longer Human is its uncanny ability to make readers recognize themselves in Yozo. From awkward social interactions to subtle mimicry of others' behaviors, many feel a reflection of their private struggles in his life. This mirroring occurs across cultures and generations, revealing the novel's universal resonance. The weirdness lies in its involuntary introspection. Readers are compelled to reflect on their own social coping mechanisms and emotional concealment. Dazai's narrative acts as a mirror, showing the quiet, often hidden ways humans struggle with identity and belonging. This strange, self-reflective experience goes beyond conventional empathy. It creates a psychological echo that lingers long after reading, making the novel both unsettling and profoundly relatable. Fact 12. Universally studied classic. Despite its distinctly Japanese context, No Longer Human is studied worldwide. Universities use it in literature, philosophy, and psychology courses because it examines social alienation, identity, and emotional authenticity. Its themes transcend culture, resonating with anyone who has ever felt disconnected or misunderstood. The unusual factor is how a culturally specific narrative becomes globally relevant. Translations preserve psychological nuance, allowing students to explore human behavior and emotion without losing literary subtlety. This dual relevance, academic and emotional, makes Dazai's work uniquely weird. Readers and scholars alike confront alienation as both literary theme and psychological reality. Its universal study highlights the novel's odd but undeniable power to connect people across time and space through shared emotional understanding. Fact 11. Advanced academic text. No Longer Human is often reserved for advanced literary and psychological study. Its themes, emotional detachment, identity confusion, and social mimicry, require maturity to interpret accurately. Younger readers may miss the depth, making it a novel typically engaged at higher academic levels. The weirdness lies in the level of introspection required. Analysis focuses less on plot and more on emotional and social observation, examining how humans navigate internal conflict and alienation. Students engage with Yozo's coping strategies, including humor, mimicry, and detachment, gaining insight into human psychology. The novel becomes a dual-purpose text, literary masterpiece, and psychological exploration. Its placement in advanced curricula underscores the unusual nature of a story that educates readers about the human mind while immersing them in narrative fiction. Fact 10. Absence of redemption. Unlike many novels, No Longer Human offers no redemption or resolution. Yozo does not recover socially, emotionally, or morally. The narrative ends without catharsis, leaving readers with discomfort and existential reflection rather than closure. This lack of resolution is strange and unsettling. It reflects Dazai's focus on psychological realism over narrative satisfaction. Life, in this story, does not offer answers or neat conclusions. Readers are left confronting the quiet horrors of alienation and invisibility, highlighting the novel's peculiar ability to unsettle and provoke thought. Its weirdness comes from this refusal to provide comfort, forcing reflection on the nature of existence and the consequences of isolation. Fact 9. Published pre-death timing No Longer Human was published shortly before Osamu Dazai's death in 1948. The weird factor is how personal tragedy intersects with fiction. Although the novel stands independently, knowledge of Dazai's death creates an unusual layer of emotional complexity. Readers feel as though the narrative foreshadows mortality and existential collapse, intensifying the story's haunting psychological depth. The timing makes the book a strangely intimate encounter with both character and author, blurring the line between life and art. Fact 8. Characters based real life. Several characters are inspired by Dazai's acquaintances, though traits are symbolic rather than literal. Friends, teachers, and social contacts influenced behaviors and interactions, providing authenticity without compromising fiction. This unusual approach creates a sense of realism alongside abstraction. Characters feel alive, yet represent universal emotional truths rather than specific biographies. Dazai's technique highlights the weird power of literature to create emotional resonance while maintaining artistic freedom. Readers encounter personalities that are simultaneously real and conceptual, enhancing the novel's unsettling depth. Fact 7. Author emotional reflection. Yozo embodies aspects of Dazai's personality, sensitivity, detachment, and social hesitation, but remains a fictional construct. The fusion of personal insight and imagination is strange, creating a character who is both unique and universal. The weird factor lies in emotional resonance. Readers experience intimate reflection through Yozo, exploring alienation, mimicry, and social anxiety. Dazai transforms personal emotion into a literary lens, making internal psychological struggle readable, recognizable, and disturbingly relatable across contexts. Fact 6. Gentle, reflective theme. Despite its dark reputation, the novel emphasizes quiet reflection over sensational tragedy. Yozo observes social dynamics and personal failings rather than reacting violently or dramatically. This unusual approach creates a subtle psychological tension. Miscommunication and alienation unfold without malice, emphasizing introspection over action. The strangeness lies in how profound emotional truths emerge from mundane interactions and internal observation, making the novel eerily reflective. The Fact 5. Humor shields emotion. Yozo uses humor to navigate social spaces, masking vulnerability while avoiding emotional exposure. Laughter is both a shield and a strategy, allowing him to appear normal despite inner turmoil. The weird aspect is the dual function of humor. It is protective yet isolating, highlighting the subtle mechanics of social survival. Dazai's exploration of this phenomenon is unusual, revealing psychological insight rarely expressed in literature, making readers both empathetic and unsettled. Fact 4. Detached perspective narrative. Yozo narrates his life with detachment, often observing himself as if he were an outsider. Emotional distancing creates a reflective, almost clinical viewpoint that is unusual in first-person narratives. This perspective emphasizes observation, introspection, and alienation. The weirdness lies in the way readers are positioned to witness emotional struggle without resolution, highlighting social isolation and psychological realism in a profoundly affecting manner. The Fact 3. 3 life photographs. The novel opens with 3 photographs representing Yozo at different stages of life: childhood, adolescence, and early adulthood. Each image encapsulates innocence, confusion, and emotional detachment. The strange symbolism foreshadows the novel's themes. Identity is fragmented, socially influenced, and observed externally. These images act as a visual metaphor for Yozo's alienation, creating a unique narrative device rarely seen in literature. Fact 2. Original title. Meaning the Japanese title, Ningen Shikaku, literally means disqualified from being considered human. This framing of emotional alienation as disqualification is strange and provocative, setting the novel's tone immediately. The weird factor is the psychological framing. Yozo is not immoral or criminal. He is socially and emotionally estranged. Dazai presents alienation as a subtle existential condition, turning ordinary human struggles into a profound literary meditation on identity and belonging. Fact 1. Fictional emotional mirror. Yozo serves as a mirror for universal emotional experiences. He is fictional, yet reflects vulnerability, detachment, and social estrangement, allowing readers to see aspects of themselves in his struggles. The strangeness lies in this universality. Fictional narrative becomes a reflective tool, revealing subtle emotional truths. Readers experience alienation and identity, struggle through the lens of someone else's consciousness, making the novel both unsettling and profoundly relatable. Closing remarks. No longer, Human remains one of literature's most unsettling and profound works. It offers no easy comfort and refuses simple resolution. The novel forces readers to confront the disturbing realities of isolation, identity, and human vulnerability. Whether you find it relatable or deeply unsettling, Dazai's refusal to simplify his vision makes this work a remarkable achievement in Japanese literature. It is a novel that demands reflection, not mere entertainment, asking readers to engage with some of the most uncomfortable truths about human consciousness and social estrangement. If you've watched this entire video, you've explored 20 of the weirdest and most fascinating aspects of this extraordinary novel. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of literature's most psychologically haunting masterpieces, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content exploring the strange and thought-provoking intersections between literature, psychology, and the human condition.